The Sde Teiman leak exposed Israel's deep state corruption. The military attorney general confessed to obstructing justice, fueling a global blood libel against IDF soldiers. Did the military attorney general frame our soldiers? Why did the attorney general protect the leakers? And is this the bureaucracy's final collapse? Welcome. We are witnessing the historic collapse of the deep state in Israel, the unelected mechanism that have long controlled the country. At the epicenter of this collapse is the Sde Teiman affair. This is not merely a criminal investigation, it is a shocking exposure of a blood libel and consciousness engineering operation conducted by the highest legal and military authorities, causing devastating and potentially irreversible damage to IDF soldiers and national security. The Military Advocate General, the MAG, Major General Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi, is suspected of, at the very least, ordering a leak of fabricated video from the Sde Teiman affair to the press, to Guy Peleg of Channel 12. The purpose was to create a false narrative of rape and abuse against reservists, thereby contaminating the investigation and serving a political agenda. The MAG was forced to resign, and in her resignation letter, she made a stunning admission: I approved the release of material to the media. This is an acknowledgement of obstruction of justice by the highest legal authority in the military. The immunity granted to the correct camp for decades is now crumbling. The magnitude of damage caused by this leak, dubbed the largest blood libel ever against Israel, is unprecedented. The leak turned confidential legal procedures into a weapon used by Israel's enemies, as shown by the Minister of Diaspora Affairs, Amichai Shikli, who exposed the data. Global incitement of this leak led to the most severe reputational damage to Israel throughout the war. The term concentration camp libel, between July 28th and August 9th, the phrase Sde Teiman concentration camp appeared over 90,000 times and garnered over 93 million views on X alone. The media amplified these accusations of abuse and rape, which were reported by every major global media outlet: Reuters, BBC, the New York Times, Al Jazeera, and many others. There was official condemnation. Hostile accounts with tens of millions of followers spread this video as evidence of war crimes. And the affair even featured prominently in reports by the UN Human Rights Council, which painted IDF soldiers as sadistic rapists and caused Nazification of Israel, as this media campaign resulted in severe demonization of IDF soldiers, falsely claiming that it operated concentration camps. The Attorney General covered this up. Despite undeniable and quantifiable damage, the Attorney General, Gili Barhav Miara, initially ruled that this leak did not harm state security. And we'll get into what more she did later. The Sde Teiman affair is a prime example of consciousness engineering, where the public's perception is manipulated through distorted information. There was a fake narrative. The claim was about abuse of a Palestinian detainee, but in fact, this core issue was edited and had a false video. The detainee in question was a Nukhba terrorist, that is, a murderer from October 7th, and his fate should, of course, be the death penalty. Channel 12's correspondent, Guy Peleg, stated on air that the blurry footage in the leaked video included documentations of the rape offense attributed to the reservists, a sodomy act. although in reality the actual unblurred footage contained no trace of the shocking accusation. Peleg is so confident in his ability to engineer viewers' consciousness that he assumed, correctly, that many viewers would believe his words even when the visual evidence openly contradicted him. Now, the MAG's admission, in her resignation, she admitted to contaminating the investigation by releasing material, an act that marked the soldiers in advance rather than allowing people to be presumed innocent until proven guilty and receive a fair legal process. And here is the main point. The final indictment that the court received about this whole case lacked the grape charge. The leak achieved nothing but a devastating blood libel against the IDF. The final indictment was a feeble attempt to protect the military prosecution and justify the false opening of the grape investigation. Now, there's so much more here, but let's continue. How did this revelation finally surface? The truth, long suppressed for 15 months by the system, finally emerged from an unexpected source, revealing this insanely cover-up. The breakthrough came when there was a routine polygraph test administered to a high-ranking officer in the Military Advocate General's office, the former spokesperson who was transitioning to a new role. Do you want to guess what that role is? To be a judge in the military court. This is what a judge did. And this former spokesperson confessed that the military attorney general was the one who ordered this information to be released. Now, during the polygraph, this officer confessed to transferring the video herself and provided a full and detailed account proving beyond any doubt the military attorney general's involvement in leaking the video, stating that the MAG, at the very least, did not prevent the leak, if not personally ordered it. Of course, we've now found out that she did in fact order it. The MAG was allegedly part of a WhatsApp group of 10 senior conspirators who were involved in leaking this video to Guy Peleg. Understand, 10 top-level judicials were in a group, a WhatsApp group, conspiring to corrupt this case and falsely accuse our heroic soldiers. Now, I just want to say that in her letter, the military attorney general claimed that she was doing this to protect the military prosecution from the hate that the public had against them due to their accusations against these heroic soldiers. So basically, her problem is that the public hates their false accusations, and consequently, she's going to doctor up false evidence. Brilliant! This is certainly a trustworthy person. Now, here's another very important piece of information. There's a new Shin Bet director. We talked about this multiple times, that the new Shin Bet director, David Zini, just got sworn in a few weeks ago after a long period of time where the Attorney General herself, as well as many others, tried to scuttle his appointment, including and not limited to the person who served as a temporary head of the GSS using illegal technologies to get information from phones of people to try to scuttle the appointment, and so much more. This is how it's all connected. But anyways, the crucial information of this polygraph was delivered to the new Shin Bet director, David Zini. His assumption of the office, a figure outside the old hegemony, allowed for the mechanisms of fear and reprisal against people working within the hegemony to drop, making the revelation possible. The loss of control over the Shin Bet was the first domino to fall. After that, Zini referred the information to Chief of Staff Zamir, and he was informed and he recognized this is not merely an ethical issue, but a criminal matter involving false statements to the High Court of Justice by a senior military official, which is, of course, when the Military Attorney General provided a written statement to the High Court of Justice saying that they were unable to locate the leak, that it would take too long, when in fact they were the ones who leaked it themselves. This led to the Chief of Staff to refer these findings to the Attorney General, Gili Bar-Hav Miara, who reluctantly ordered a criminal investigation. And the fact that the MAG was not detained for questioning, and that her phone remained in her possession, and that she was given days between the publication of the findings and her questioning that hasn't even started, shows that law enforcement has type A and type B suspects. As Wells would say, first among equals. This entire scandal shows this you scratch my back, I scratch your back at the top. The investigation is exposing a brazen, self-serving circle of protection between the top legal offices, screaming of conflict of interest and obstruction of justice. For example, the military Attorney General protects the son of the Attorney General, Gali Bar-Hav Miara. The military Attorney General, Tomer Yerushalmi, closed the criminal investigation against Gali Miara's son, who admitted to stealing a ceramic vest worth thousands of dollars from a comrade of his, a volunteer from the US who came to fight. This case was closed with no charges. And then there's a reciprocal act. The Attorney General protects the military Attorney General. The Attorney General downplayed and closed the leak investigation into the Sde Teiman affair, despite the military Attorney General being heavily implicated. She rejected the professional opinion that determined that the leak did not harm state security, which of course is false. This directly contradicts the data from the Diaspora Ministry. The person authorized to order a criminal investigation against the Attorney General for this problem is the state prosecutor, who, Shai Nitzan, who is subordinate to the Attorney General. Asking the state prosecutor Amit Isman to investigate this matter is like asking the deputy of the military Attorney General to investigate his boss. It's just absurd how this system works, but it is a system. It's not just a one-off case. The conflict of interest and obstruction of justice are screaming to the high heavens and requires an investigation of everyone involved. And this cover-up was not just internal, it was institutionalized and presented to the highest judicial authority in the land. There was a fictitious investigation for nearly a year. The military Attorney General and the AG, the Attorney General, were engaged in a staged theater of a leaked investigation for the benefit of the High Court. They provided a false affidavit, and the High Court was told that some subordinate of the military Attorney General was in charge of the investigation. This was a lie. The investigation was internally compromised. The military Attorney General is the prime suspect, and she also evaded in the Knesset. When questioned in the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, she dodged responsibility. She said she was unable to get involved because the case was referred to the Attorney General, so she cannot even respond, even the ethical aspect. The bureaucracy is also complicit in this. Under Justice Erez Barak, they backed the Jurist Act, suggesting that the investigation be subject to the AG's supervision. Every person suspected of complicity, the AG announced 15 months after the affair broke, that the investigation was exhausted and they won't find anything. An act likely driven by fear of the newly appointed Shin Bet director, David Zini. And this case proves that the MAG's criminal conduct is not an isolated incident, but a method of operation shared across the entire prosecution system. They investigate themselves and come out clean, all while lying to the High Court and the public. This is the essence of their corruption. It is the same pattern of claiming inability to find the leakers, and it was used also by the state prosecutor in relation to the Netanyahu cases whenever there's a leak there. So now, what does it mean that the MAG resigned? This confession, what does it mean? So this letter, which came only after the internal plot was exposed, is a de facto confession of guilt, but also is a further act of obstruction. The Attorney General, the military Attorney General, admitted that she approved the release of material to the media and claims to bear full responsibility, which is a term that's been coined by the left in the last 2 years to basically say, leave me alone, I did something horrible, but leave me alone because I said the magic phrase, bear responsibility, when in fact they don't bear any responsibility for anything they've done. And this results in a failure of justice. The head of the investigative and accusatory body admits to contaminating and obstructing the investigation, prejudicing the soldiers, and this internal IDF review was merely fictish. The truth only surfaced when it was attempted to cover it up, and it failed. She was breaking the law, she violated the fundamental principles of the rule of law, and demonstrated how the political and distorted worldviews have spread to the heads of the most sensitive systems, which of course necessitates a fundamental cleaning of the stables. This case revealed the stark division of the justice system into two camps: the noble elite and the plebs. Obviously, the plebs are the soldiers and everyone else in the country, and the elites are the military attorney general, the Supreme Court justices, the attorney general, and so on. For example, a soldier who made a political comment in Hebron was jailed. Soldiers in Sde Teiman, suspected of abuse, were arrested in a raid with ski masks and jailed. Brigadier General Oren Solomon, who just recently released the investigation that he conducted of October 7th, one that was initiated by the army, but they didn't like the results. He was jailed and framed with a false that has since then dropped accusations. Journalists like Uri Rosenfeld were arrested by masked police. Their phones were confiscated for a very, very long time. The editor of the Jerusalem Post. But the military attorney general admitted to obstruction of justice and criminal offenses, lied to the Supreme Court, caused a massive blood libel, casually strolling around into the chief of staff's office, confessing to her crimes, and goes home. And for further acts of obstruction with her public letter that allows for everyone to get on the same page. This is time to demand justice. For a fraction of this, people were thrown into the Shin Bet basements. This event cannot end with just their dismissal. If they're not imprisoned for this, we can officially declare the division of Israeli society into the elites and the plebs. The culprits must be brought to justice to ensure that justice is done. The time for action is now. The Sde Teiman affair is proof that the system of lies that gave immunity to the select few is falling apart. We must ensure that it does not end with just a resignation. Those responsible, including the MAG and the AG, must face thorough criminal investigations and prison sentences. The bureaucracy must be dismantled. The corrupt AG must go, followed by the ultra-extreme judge Yitzhak Amit and his cronies. And in one more piece of news that's completely unrelated but just has to be said, after 11 days with no hostage remains released, Hamas returned 2 remains of hostages and then followed it by more trickery by returning 3 remains that are not Israeli, not hostages, and have absolutely nothing to do with anything. They are continuing to stretch out this situation to break Donald Trump's 20-part peace plan. I don't know what's going to happen, but something has to give. In any case, I know that this is astounding and astonishing, so pray for Israel, pray for the swamp to be drained. Shalom. God bless you all.